All right, well, thank you guys. Thank you. Welcome to day 2. Let's see if this works. All right, day 2. We made it. We made it past Happy Box. Woohoo! I guess some people are still digesting the brisket from yesterday. It was good. It was good. Well, thank you so much. Remember, raffles today after the last session. We'll just stay here in this room. We have a bunch of goodies to give away, so we'll see you here as well. Start off with an announcement. Obviously, you've seen it throughout the slides and throughout yesterday, but Into the Box 2023, we're finally moving it back to our normal schedule, always of May. Woohoo! This was really important as well to move it. I mean, through COVID, we pushed through, and we pushed through, basically. But we're ready to go back to our normal schedule in May, and that will be really helpful for a lot of folks as well. All right. I'm very excited to present on this section. I don't think I've ever presented on this section because I always get very emotional on it. It's very important and dear to me. Is our Life is More Than Software section. We always do it on day 2 and kind of present on how, for us, it's really important to do just more than software, right? The life aspects of who we are, right? And for us, we've always designated since day 1 a percentage of Orta's income actually goes outside its walls. That's non-negotiable. It has been since day 1. There's several missions that we support, obviously, in the local communities here in Houston. Harvesting in Spanish is very dear for me personally because it's in El Salvador. It's an orphanage that started during the Civil War in El Salvador in the 1980s, and it's still there, and it's still helping people and helping children being displaced then by war, then by the gang members, and they're still going very strong. We also started supporting Mighty Oaks Foundation, which is a foundation to help our veterans from PTSD. And you can check out their website. It's really a great initiative. They've also started another one called Save Our Allies to assist throughout the world. And I'm also kind of started a first of what we wanted to be something that's ours, something that Ortas can do. And we started it last year, and it's called CommandBox for Hope. So this is really exciting. This is a kind of a new adventure for us. We partnered with Harvesting in Spanish, and we launched a website now. So if you go to commandboxforhope.org, it's available. And we've already actually started doing missions. I actually started doing some with my kids, actually, during the pandemic in Mexico. And we've already delivered about 300 of what we call cold boxes. Almost 180 families that we have helped, about 5 missions that we did during 2021 during the pandemic in El Salvador and in Mexico. And we're ready to start doing more now. So we actually met with some of the folks of Harvesting, and anybody at Ortas actually has the ability to go and do these missions if they want. And actually anybody of you who wants to do something like that can also do it, right? So it's really exciting for us to be able to do this and formally now. And it's very important for me to if there's a need, to try to meet it, right? So I want to actually to show you a little bit of the actual orphanage, because I think it's also important to see how they live, how these kids live, and how. And if I showed you how it was before, it would be very depressing. So I don't want to depress anybody. I want to actually motivate people. So it'll be really quick. It's just a small little video tour of the home. So let me put it over there. And I don't know if you can hear the sound. No? Well, that's the kitchen. We'll narrate it, because I don't know why the sound is not coming out. So those are the ladies that help out in the orphanage. That's the entrance to the orphanage. They actually have 2 ambulances in there that were donated to, because they have a medical center that offers free medical assistance to anybody in the community. That's the entrance into the children's homes, the little kids, the little girls, and then on here, more of the teenagers. They were actually able to build a pool and teach kids how to swim. I would probably say before 100% of them had no idea how to swim. And those are actually cottages that people can actually go there. So anybody, if you wants to go there and help out for a weekend or something, you can actually stay inside of the home and assist. That was the teenage girls' home.
¿Qué están haciendo?
Oh, there you go. There's sound somewhere. And this is the little kids' homes. You can see that they actually wash all of the dishes in the kitchen. That's their responsibilities. There's a lot of special needs kids as well.
Buenos días.
That's a classroom for the special needs. A lot of autistic kids, a lot of kids that
Buenos
their
días.
parents were alcoholics or in drugs and permanent damages. I know that kid since he was born. And his mom gave him away because just a drug addict and left him on the side of the road. That's their basketball facilities and soccer. That's for the boys as well. That's actually
Oh,
Manuel.
Buenos días. Buenos días.
That's the dormitories, their closets.
Ah, estás ordenando. Qué bueno. ¿Te gusta tu cuarto? Buenos días. ¿Qué están haciendo?
At the time of the video, they were replacing all the roofs because they had leaks because of all the rains
Hoy
in
es
El
sábado.
Salvador.
Sí.
Like I said, these are the ones that are prepared for people. They have a lot of medical doctors and interns that come and stay there because the medical facility is about a block away
It's
from
a
the entrance,
quiet
which is
morning
this
at
is
the
the
Shalom
entrance to the home.
Sure do look forward to the next time when you guys will walk through this gate again. Miss you.
Right. So little tour just so you can see that it's real. Yeah. But it's really important for us to always help and try to find a need and meet them. So just a little reminder, these are the areas that we assist. And we really appreciate even your ticket here goes out to some of them. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. We'll move on. So we'll start off with ContentBox and the state of the ContentBox. It's kind of crazy that this project actually started from a training here in Texas. I didn't even live in Texas at the time, but it started from a training here, so 10 years ago. And our 5X series started last year. It was a definitely major architectural shift in how we built ContentBox. Pretty much everything was changed. It was really one of the most ambitious releases. We had over 145 stories, a renewed investment, and just to kickstart the project again into modern times. I kind of had some dust for a few years. So basically, that was 5 final last year. This year, we're still focusing on the 5X series, and we're focusing for the next 2 years on 6 and then 7. Okay? And 5 was really a way to catch up. Okay? And there were several areas that we invested in to move it forward. Obviously, we moved to CommandBox 6. It was still actually in CommandBox 4 before. We introduced multi-site, which was the capability to actually manage one or how many sites you want in a single box. We also, when you install, you also get a staging site and a production site all included as well. There's actually a great session today by Esme and by George on ContentBox as well today. So check it out, especially around headless. okay? And the headless API was something that we really wanted to do for a long, long time. We finally did it. And it gives the ability for ContentBox to be deployed just as the API. And since everything's modular, you can choose and say, okay, I just want the API, or I just want the admin, or I just want the UI. Now you can build the entire UIs in whatever other language you want. It doesn't matter anymore, okay? We also are improving the administrator. We're migrating it to Alpine and CBWire. We're talking about CBWire this morning with Grant. So we're making it reactive and for CFML developers to really adhere and improve the admin themselves. We're still not even done. It's just started. And of course, we're also working with Senor CLI over there to improve the CLI. So we've actually started the official ContentBox CLI. It assists you in installing ContentBox, but we have more plans. It will actually allow you to actually administer all your content boxes. You can actually publish from the CLI, and thanks to Project Escher with Scott and Brad, we're going to even be able to monitor your content box as well. But since we are doing this, then we said, well, you know what? What the heck? Why don't we do the next one now? So we did. So ContentBox 6 is now in BE. So we're skipping all the 5X series now because we really wanted to drop Adobe 2016 compatibility. So we're working on 6 now. So we've accelerated our plans, and for 2022, 5 has now gone into LTS. And the 6X series will start sometimes during the rest of the year. But we're pushing through. John has been helping tremendously with a lot of things inside of ContentBox. So it's really, really exciting. There's a lot of things that are in progress already. Like I said, ContentBox 2016 is gone. We are producing content templates now, finally. We have migrated to ColdBox Elixir. We are migrating to Alpine.js. Scripted installs are coming, thanks to George Murphy. So you can actually install ContentBox with full databases, administrators, and everything just silently. No user interactions. New content types for links and folders and files. A CBFS-powered media management, so we're going to be able to store media wherever you want. A new default theme for the UI, which we'll still have. Global custom fields, enhanced custom fields, so we can actually create really rich content. Okay. OTP integration, so for more security features. Okay. And of course, customizations for the admin and the ever so desired draft mode. So still a lot of development going on, and we're accelerating our processes. We're also very excited today to announce that we have now the ContentBox AMIs. Thanks to George Murphy, who assists us always here. These are available now. They're secured by default, database included, and they're available at the AWS Marketplace. Windows only, I believe, right now, right, George? Yes. Windows only right now. Ubuntu is coming soon, but these are available since last week, right, George? Yes. So if you want to spin up things in AWS, they're there. Also, DigitalOcean droplets are coming as well. And our ContentBox Cloud will come after we figured out all these things and put them together. We're going to be able to offer ContentBox as a service. So you're going to be able to actually just get an API and an admin. Okay? It will be up to you how to actually build the UIs, and this will help you scale and bring your own API basically to any app that you want. So really a lot of things that we're moving forward in ContentBox. It has taken time to ramp up, but it's getting there. So very, very excited. And since I mentioned a little bit about Alpine and CBWire, well, I want to now introduce Senor Wire, Mr. Grant, to come talk to us a little bit about what he's been doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So, yeah, my name's Grant Copley, or it was. I'm now Senior Wire, and I am the lead developer of CBWire, and very excited to announce some of the work that we've been doing on that. I forgot that you added that, Luis, but I love that. That's cool. So, single-page applications have landed with CFML. So, one of the things that we sought out to achieve with CBWire in this latest release was being able to actually build single-page applications similar to what you're doing with Vue, React, but to be doing that with CFML. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We did a release of 2.0. If we updated the documentation, you'll see the URL right there, cbwire.ortusbooks.com. So I encourage you to go check that out. So what is CBWire? Well, it is a ColdBox module to add reactivity to your Cold Fusion or CFML apps. Ultimately, what it is it's HTML over the wire. So if you're using Vue, if you're using React, what you're used to is that your components and your templates are being rendered client-side. This is different in where that the rendering happens server-side, and it's happening with CBWire. So in CBWire, your components are built with CFML templates. They're built with CFC components. The way that it renders things server-side, it actually is SEO friendly, as opposed to if you're working in like Vue and React, sometimes those are not as SEO friendly. So if you're working with like e-commerce applications or things where you really need a lot of SEO benefit, this is a good way to go about that. If you're familiar with Vue, you'll be familiar with CBWire. The concepts of data properties, computed properties, events and listeners, templates, template directives like @click. All of those are in CBWire. So why would you want to use CBWire? Well, it's simple. It's easy. It's quick to get started. You can create modern reactive apps and do it very quickly, and the apps just feel good. That's the best way I can explain it. There's no page refreshing, and it creates a good user experience. So, like I said, we wanted to introduce single-page applications. We were able to do that by lending from a library called Turbo, and that's now integrated and works with CBWire. So CBWire is an alternative. So if you're not wanting to use Vue, or maybe you've got applications where, existing apps that you want to add reactivity, but you're not quite ready to jump into a big framework like Vue or React, CBWire can be a good alternative. One of the biggest benefits with using CBWire is that it eliminates the need to create unnecessary back-end APIs. So a lot of times with the apps we're building nowadays, we're building a back-end API just to support the front end. So we're doing front-end work, and then we're doing all of this JSON API stuff on the back end, and that can get complicated, and a lot of times you don't even need it. And so CBWire takes that out of the picture. You can use tools that you already know and that you've invested in. So Wirebox, TestBox, any sort of modules that are on ForgeBox, all of those things are things that you can pull in and use within CBWire. You can keep your domain knowledge and logic server side. So if you're finding in your front end that some of your business logic is getting tied into that, you can bring that back to server side and keep it closer to your where your data lives. So you can use as much as you need, but you can also still use JavaScript. So I'm definitely not saying don't use JavaScript. JavaScript's awesome, but you can mix them in. And actually, the creator of Livewire, also the creator of Alpine.js, created these two technologies, and CBWire really works on top of Livewire. So it's meant to work with Alpine.js very well, and we had a talk yesterday on Alpine, and we've got some great stuff on that. So I've been really excited about the momentum of CBWire. Last year, we announced it at Into the Box 2021. So this year, just last week, we rolled out version 2.0. We've completed 24 tickets. There were 18 enhancements. We fixed some bugs. We upgraded to the latest Livewire JS engine. Turbo integration, like I mentioned before. The ability to do file uploads. We were able to get that in, so just having a reactive file input where they can upload a file and instantly see a thumbnail, no page refreshing, all of that's built in into 2.0. We added the ability to test your UI components. And we added validation, so form validation, instead of using JavaScript, you can use CB validation. As your users are entering data into their form, they're getting instant feedback. There's some JavaScript lifecycle hooks that you can tap into, and we added the ability to pass in data through the query string of your URLs and populate your UI components doing that. So I did a session yesterday on CBWire. I believe, I'm not sure when we're going to be posting those up, but it will be available on CFcast. And we are planning on, at some point, actually doing a full course on CBWire. So just kind of look out for that. And also, the other thing I want to talk about was CBFS. So Luis and I presented on that yesterday. So that is a module that provides file storage abstraction for your apps. You can configure disk. We've got multiple drivers or providers that are available. Some of them right now are S3. We've got a local provider, RAM provider. We're working on a CashBox provider, and we're also thinking about things like even SFTP. You know, anywhere that you can store data, if we can abstract that and make that available, we're going to try to do it. Included in CBFS is a disk service. It starts up your disk. You can shut down disk. You can use that anywhere within your ColdBox app. We've got a full injection DSL where you can inject disk into your app and use them wherever you're needing. And it's got a really simple API. You know, if you want to copy a file, create a file, delete, check if a file exists, all kinds of stuff. It's all built into the disk instances. So why CBFS? Well, you've got a simple API, but it's not just simple, it's consistent. It's a consistent API across all of those various providers. And what's really cool is you can define global disk. Your modules, if you're working with modules or creating modules within ColdBox, they can create their own disk. It works on both Adobe CF and Lucy. And again, we've got multiple providers. We're adding more. And you can move this to simple configuration changes. So it's really cool. You can set up your storage configuration to work differently in different environments, but not have to make any code changes. So maybe locally, when you're developing, maybe you want to store your data in temporary storage, or maybe stored in RAM, but when you're going to a production environment, maybe you want to store data in S3. You can do that very easily with CBFS, with just some configuration changes. Like all of our modules, it's free, it's open source, it's Ortus supported, and also check out CFcast for that. So that's it for me. Next, we've got up Eric. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. I am loud. The Modular Maestro. I didn't do a count today in ForgeBox, but the last count I had was about 40. Also that CFcast guy. So let's talk. I'm going to give you an update on kind of the two biggest modules that I handle, QB and Quick, as well as I got two more for you because, you know, module guy. So QB, we've had 8 releases in the last year. It just kind of chugs along. Some neat quality of life things we have here. Row and table locking helpers. Insert ignore if you've ever just wanted to say, hey, SQL, take this, and if it doesn't work, I don't care. That's fine, right? Or insert using a separate callback or query. We have custom default options. This is probably my favorite. This is where we can use Wirebox to create little pre-configured query builders that have the DSN information that you need all built into it, so you don't have to, pass that string around everywhere, and lots of bug fixes. QB continues to be, in my opinion, the best way to build dynamic queries in CFML. Thank you. Now let's talk about Quick. If you have not heard of Quick, Quick is our CFML ORM, or way to interact with your database using objects, kind of an alternative to Hibernate or whatever homegrown system that you have running on your code. So the state of Quick, we have a new release for Into the Box. Version 5 has been released this week. Not much has changed except that Quick got quicker. That over a 2 times performance increase in most places. Thank you to everybody who pitched in helping find places that we could make Quick quicker. It will continue to get quicker until I get tired of saying quicker. But wait, there's more. I have 2 new modules to announce today, and there will be sessions for both of these today. First one, let's talk about CBPlaywright. Playwright is a library created by Microsoft for running end-to-end browser tests. You can think of it like other tools like Selenium or Cypress. It is going to control your browser. Not just useful in tests, but definitely useful in tests. So CBPlaywright is an extension for TestBox that you can run these tests straight from TestBox, control Chrome, Chromium, Firefox, Safari, Edge, all of those. You don't need CommandBox. This will work in any application just from TestBox. And basically, if you're sitting here thinking, well, why did you do this? I made all the Java stuff disappear for you, which was a nightmare. And I'll tell you more about it in the session. But yeah, you'll be able to install the drivers necessary, load all the correct jars, and start browser testing. If you are avoiding testing or not sure where to get started testing, end-to-end tests will give you the most bang for your buck, for sure, because it interacts with your site just as a user would. And you can, I love having just one test in my file that's called smoke test, and it does something on my site to make sure that at least my site loads and I haven't broken that. So come learn more about that. That will be later this afternoon after lunch, I believe. The other one I have to announce is something called CBQ, because I like my very short letters, and also I thought it was fun that Q instead of QUE, because it's all silent. Anyways. So CBQ builds on top of the async manager that we've seen in CommandBox. It is made to run jobs in the background, but it's not just meant to throw, things on the threads, because we can already do that. But it's meant to encapsulate how you create a job, how you can delay it, how you can prioritize it, and interacts with durable queues. And a durable queue is a queue that holds the data until the job is finished. So if you get an exception, your server goes down, you don't lose that job out into the ether. So it can run on multiple providers. It can run with your database. It can run with Rabbit, Redis, anything that you build. The beta is launching today, and you can learn more about that immediately after this session. Excited to tell you more about that in that session. So those are the 4 modules I want to talk about today, and I want to end by telling you a little bit about CFcasts. You've seen it up on the slides before. Hopefully you've heard about it now. CFcast is the premier training resource for a CFML developer. And give you a little bit of stats. We have over 500 videos. That's 8 days of content, folks. You could watch this for a week and still not be done, which is amazing. Had some great series launched this year, including Logbox 101, creating your first ForgeBox package, the CommandBox Masterclass, and as well as all the Orders webinars, which are all free. You don't even need to sign up for an account to go watch those. Got a lot of good ones coming soon, and you can always go into our support and throw us an email about what series you would like to see. And especially coming soon, all of these Into the Box session videos will be available to all of you attendees for free on CFcasts. the best place to level up your CFML development experience. And now we'll turn it over to Mr. John Clausen.
Thank you. Am I on? All right. Thank you. Captain Container. Well, the state of the container has changed greatly. Did I just go backwards? I just did. Oh, well. Sorry, it's remote. All right. So the state of the container has changed, and since we introduced the CommandBox Docker containers, we are now at over 1.4 million pulls of those containers. So right now, just on trend, based on what we were last year, we're right now at about, from September 20th of last year to today, we're at about 350,000 pulls, which means that we're probably going to average around 400,000 pulls a year going forward and then increasing on that. So that's a big milestone, because what it means is that that space for CFML developers to use those containers and start deploying in containers is growing. And since Docker caches all those layers of the containers, this is a pretty big statistic, because a lot of times people are starting and stopping the same container. So this is happening in builds, it's happening in deploys, people building custom images. Man. I'm pressing the laser. Sorry. Hope I didn't blind anybody. So, the state of the container today is that we've got some additional native CommandBox support for environment configurations, which Brad has added. Basically, at this point now, you can configure deeply nested keys, both with regard to the server settings and how it starts up and how it performs and what you allow access to. We've continued to migrate our old environment variables over and deprecate those, and now we're using the CommandBox variables. We're now supporting 3 different architectures: AMD 64, ARM v7, which is 32-bit, and then ARM 64 as well. In addition, you're starting to see people using the multi-stage builds. We talked a little bit about that in the containerization workshop. With the multi-stage builds, you can get startup times on a Lucy server in sub 5-second startup times from when the container starts to when it comes online and starts serving traffic. And we've also had 7 release versions since September 2021, and we'll have another release version here before Into the Box is up, which will upgrade it to CommandBox 5.6. I know. So, one more surprise, although I don't know if it's a surprise because I did the session yesterday, so some of you it won't be a surprise for. What that is one of our new modules called CB Commerce. And what is CB Commerce? CB Commerce is a modular e-commerce platform for the ColdBox framework. It has a robust API. It's able to run as either an integrated stack with all the modules together, or you can run it headless and just simply consume the API or do your custom development on it as well. It supports digital products, infinite product variations and options, multiple inventory locations, back orders, shipping and payment processes which can be customized based on your needs, or different for example, different shipping providers in different countries or common couriers. It also supports consignment and used products. So one of the challenges with e-commerce, especially in any retail, is dealing with open box or used items as they come back or get returned. CB Commerce is designed and built to support all of that. Admin and front-end modules are built with Vue.js right now, but they can also be customized and moved into CFML by simply tapping into the API methods. ContentBox integration is also available. You can install it, and it can become part of your ContentBox site, and it actually merges the ContentBox site tree, the menu, with a products menu as well. So it actually consolidates that and creates a separate menu there. Wish lists are supported, product comparisons, product images, SKU level images, SKU meaning stock keeping unit. It's a subcategory of a product. You can have as many potential different variations of a product, and you can also have images for those variations, for example, the color of your shoes. For more information on that, you can check out our ITB session when it comes up on CFcast. If you were already there, thank you for attending that yesterday. But that's not everything, we've got CBElasticsearch, which is now up to over 52,000 installs, and it continues to be the most comprehensive solution for CFML and Elasticsearch. It's now powering our ForgeBox search and most of our Ortus site search as we continue to integrate it with the new ContentBox Elasticsearch module, which is available. So you can actually install that in any ContentBox instance if you've got an Elasticsearch server connected up to it, and it'll automatically change your entire site search over to use Elasticsearch rather than the database. We're continuing to add support, or we've continued to add support for async tasking, bulk reindexing, so when you're moving big amounts of data between two indexes for analytics, ingest pipelines, meaning when we send a document to this index, we can go ahead and modify it and do all these things that we need to do to pre-flight it into the index, and then also ingesting those documents for searchability. Last but not least, there's StashBox, and we talked about StashBox last year. We gave you an intro, and we had a whole session on it. It's now, approaching 10,000 installs. It is an integrated and back-end, front-end logging and error tracking solution for ColdBox. It can also be run as a completely separate service. You can start it up. There's a Docker Compose example on the README on the repo. You can just start it up as a separate service and run it on its own, and then just send logs to it. It has an NPM JavaScript companion module, which you can install, and then you can start logging JavaScript errors to StashBox as well. So it'll capture both the front-end errors and the back-end errors. It has a headless API. It can be run as on-premise application, and it's capable of handling high-volume, high-velocity enterprise logging needs due to its async nature. As it sends all those logs out, all those calls are being sent async, and processing happens in the background once it's handed off to Elasticsearch. It has compatibility with FileBeats, so you can actually begin operating system level logging. For example, if you're running containers, sometimes you've got operating system logs that you want to keep track of and what's happening in those containers. You can simply install the FileBeats module, ingest those logs, and then ship them off to StashBox, and be able to have visibility and searchability of those logs once you're there. So, coming in late 2022 and early 2023, we've got some additional things we're going to be looking at. Containerization continues to be a hot topic. So one of the things that's come up, and a lot of questions have come up around AWS containerization, different cloud, Azure cloud. So we're going to be launching on CFcast a series of AWS and cloud containerization tutorials to show you how to get up and running very quickly and very easy and try to lower that barrier of entry. StashBox version 2, we're going to add more automation, we're going to add more asynchronicity, and we're going to keep it running faster and becoming more and more of a usable tool. CB Commerce will be adding processors, and then CBElasticsearch, we're going to be adding a script builder option, because one of the challenges you run into is when you're trying to script, reindexing or updating documents by query is the syntax that it uses for scripting is painful, and it's called painless, but it's not. It's called painless script, but it's not painless. So we're going to actually add some script builders to help make that easier and sort of handle some of these common tasks and convert them to script in the background. We'll be dealing with advanced pipeline integration, and we'll also be looking at CBFS and how we can integrate that for a searchable file system. So those are the things that are going on. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dan Card, Dr. Logs.
How about that? Gotcha. So I have a 6-year-old, and Harvey just said I have to move it, and now I have Madagascar going through my head. You got to move it, move it. It's really not a good thing for a serious talk. Anyway, yes, my name is Dan Card. I've been with Ortus for about a year. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. yeah, you mentioned before about where's this in your logs? And I'm like, yeah, we're from Boston. We don't do anything that requires like ends and as and everything else. So anyway, I'm here to talk about two things. One is a new product that we have. It's called CF Scribe. It actually is not a new product necessarily. It is an extension for Logbox. Now, this was born out of the idea that Logbox, for those of you guys have used it, basically throughout your app, you can write different logs. It'll write what the error is, whatever messages you want from inside your app that you can't see, to whatever output you want it to go, whether it be a database, whether it be a file, whether it be to the console, whatever, okay? But one of the things that came out of this was several use cases that we wanted to have more control over where those logs were going, okay? So for example, Logbox will route everything based on the severity of the error, and then a couple things you can tweak and kind of customize where it went, but there wasn't a whole lot more than that. Well, a couple use cases that came out is, well, what if I'm logging in from Postman, and I want somebody to see a dump out on the screen, or but I don't want that to happen if I'm coming into the browser over here. So we need a little more control about where those errors were going. So King Scribe. What this basically allows is I won't say almost an infinite, which technically is true, but who's going to go that far? But it's a way that you can actually route your errors or logs or messages based on the severity, any cold box setting, any config setting, any module setting that there is, the environment or any other env variables. So you can have things work one way if they're in production, another way if they're on your local server versus in development or whatever. The presence of HTTP headers to accommodate things like I mentioned before, Postman or different scenarios that you want to send in. Or if else fails, you can just basically configure it with your own UDFs, and you can have it go by whatever criteria you want. It's Tuesday, have it go over here. It's Thursday, have it go over here. Whatever you want. All right, and all that's configured from the coldbox.cfc. Basically looks like this. So in the configuration, we have rule definitions. So in this case, we're going to parse 3 variables in a row. One, does this header called my X suite header name, does it exist? If it does, that's the first rule that we're going to do. Second, we're going to check, what is the severity? Is it one of the 5, fatal, error, warn, info, or debug? Okay, and you set those when you do the log. And the last thing it's going to look at is what is the environment? Where are we? Are we in development? Are we in production? Are we or local or what? And then it basically is just a decision tree that looks like a struct, okay? We have the first thing over there, rule definitions. Is this header here? True, yes. All right, in that case, we're going to follow that path down. Is it a fatal error? Well, what I want to do is output it to the Scribe console, and I want it to abort to show Postman or whoever's doing this error, hey, this just blew up. This is a really important deal, okay? If it's not there, okay, false, do whatever you're going to do, whether it be one of the new appenders we have, which is put up a little toaster thing. We can send it to Sentry using the Sentry console or the Sentry module that's there, or any other ones that we have. All right, a couple new appenders. One is we have a new one that goes to Pusher, which is a commercial WebSocket provider. There's a screen dump. This little toaster, basically over here, you can kind of see what that is, just in case you guys didn't know what a toaster was. Probably not the most effective if you're in something like a container, but obviously if you're in front of your machine, that can be a little help. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, this is the screen dump that you can see via Postman. Now we put in both a screen dump and a screen abort because if you're in Postman, you obviously can't see anything that's happening in the console. So you want to see all the dump outs, and then it gets to the end, the one that's an error, and you want to see how it actually got there. So the whole point here was how do you actually see the information that you need when you need it? Okay, another part of that is we also realized that if you've ever seen an error log dump out to the console, there's no formatting, it's very long and a lot of noise. Basically, it's like one big wall of ugh, okay? And you get to parse it, and you go blind basically parsing it. So we wanted to be able to filter what information was being sent where. So a separate module came out called the error filter. Now the whole point here is that whenever either an array, a component, or a structure is sent in your log, it will attempt to actually filter it for you according to your customizations. So if it's an error object, you can say, I just want to see the template or the tag context. I just want to see what the error message was, and that's it. Strip out the stack context or the stack trace, skip out blank keys, anything else. And then we wanted to format in a really nice way. So we borrowed a lot of the stuff from CommandBox, which was the table template, and it looked kind of nice. If it's a component, it tries to what we call normalize it. So if you ever try to serialize either Wirebox, it takes about 10 minutes to do when you think that your system is hung up. But this will actually go through, strip out repeated nodes, strip out things that we know are not going to render very easily, and try to give you as much information as we can, or that you want, but no more or anything that's going to slow you down. There's that. And basically, at this point, it's operating as a standalone product. It uses Logbox, but it doesn't necessarily go through Logbox. We wanted to ascribe appender for Logbox itself, so you don't have to rewrite any of your current logging. Basically, you would just add it as ascribe appender, which would then do all this logic. It is standalone, and then we also have a couple more We want to have a couple more connectors to things like Stashbox and everything else. And that basically is come play. Box install error filter is the error filter. Box install CF scribe. They're the docs, and I want to say a special thank you to John Wilson from Synaptrix, who's in the back row. Thank you very much for the inspiration, some of the foundational code, and sponsoring the development. So, thank you very much. Coming up next, Mr. Gavin Pickin. All right.
Hello, mic check. Hello, hello. We good? Okay. Welcome back to another Modernize or Die CFML News Edition. No, actually, Into the Box Edition here. So for those who know, that's why I'm Mr. Modernize or Die. Okay, so Patreon. First, we just want to thank our patrons, because without them, we couldn't do our podcast. We've done a lot of work with our Patreons. We're trying to do more, and if you aren't a Patreon, you can select the membership level today. So there's some cool things about it. We've got lots of different packages, different levels, and all of the money goes straight to supporting, our open source initiatives and products like the podcast and everything else. And if you're super cool, you get to make it to our Hall of Fame. So we have some people here in the audience today, watching online as well. And these guys are our Hall of Fame, our top Patreon supporters over time, and we really want to thank them for all their support. But that's not all, because we've got even more. So we have a ton of Patreons. We thank each and every one of them, because they're doing their hard work. We obviously thank everyone who's involved in the Audis community with pull requests and issues and other things, but these guys are spending their hard-earned money to actually financially support us, and that's awesome. And as a perk for that, they get us to mispronounce your name every week on the podcast. We do our best every week to say them right, but actually had a few people had to send in some videos so we could actually figure out what they're doing. But there are some perks, as I said, of being a Patreon. You get to see things like Coding with a Kiwi. We do some live streams and everything else, so you guys can come and tune in for that. It's live for Patreons. We do record it and share it after the fact for everybody else. But you also get a ForgeBox Pro account if you get to the bronze level, and you also get a subscription. You get a CF subscription too. I won't touch it. But yeah, you also get a CF Caps subscription is included with your bronze package. So there are some perks to being a Patreon supporter. So we thank you for helping thank us. There's also the Audis community site, which obviously is free for everybody, but there's a little badge they get as well as a Patreon supporter. There's a special private channel in there as well. They get a little extra support there as well. And because of our great support, we've already 100% complete of supporting our first goal, which is completely supporting the Modernize or Die podcast. And we'll tell you a little bit more about them soon. But we're 31% of the way right now to basically completing our second goal, which is to fully fund ForgeBox and all the hosting and everything that goes behind that, our S3 packages and everything. Because if you didn't notice from previous slides, people are using our stuff. So everything's getting downloaded. We got to store it somewhere. We got to pay the bills. And so the more support we get from Patreons, it means the more money we have to do all the other cool open source stuff that you're seeing from Audis. So that's why it's so important. But our podcasts. So our podcasts are very important. We started them a few years ago because we wanted to give people more ways to keep up with what's going on with Audis. If you couldn't tell, there's a lot of stuff going on with Audis, and even people inside Audis can't figure out what the heck other people are doing. So for me, I wanted to start it because that way my job is to figure out what's going on so I can tell you guys, so that means I know too. So I like that. But I love podcasts because I can do it while I'm doing the dishes or walking the dog or riding my bike or whatever else, so I can keep consuming information So it's a great way to grow the community, get that information out there. And so that's why we started it a few years ago. And again, we have tons and tons of products released all the time, and I can't keep up with them. So if I can't keep up with them, there's no chance you guys can't keep up with them. So some stats. So we've been doing this for a while, and we're up to 185 episodes. So between our different podcasts, we have 185 episodes. We got about 20,000 actual podcast downloads. We have 15-ish thousand YouTube views, and those aren't just like little views or impressions or anything else. Those are like proper views. And so right now, 44% of people are actually watching through YouTube, so they get to see our faces. And there's a reason I don't have a slide of who the hosts are for this podcast, because we got radio voices. Radio faces too. But we'll show a couple of them here, because these are the two more presentable hosts. But we've added more hosts this year to the CFML News edition, so that way we've got a few more people so we can get more consistent. So for the longest time, Brad and myself and Eric and then Luis, and we've also added Daniel Garcia and Dan Card to the group. So now we've got a few more hosts. We spread it around a little bit more, and that means we can actually get some client work done too, in between everything else. So the CFML News edition is our big podcast. We do it weekly. It's 60 minutes-ish, depends on who's on it and who likes to talk. If I'm on it, it's going to be long. Eric likes to keep it short and sweet, so we got to fight a little bit there. But we try and give you all the community news. So we have updates and releases on all these modules and products. We talk about webinars and workshops and conferences and the CFML News, this VS Code hint, tip and trick of the week and the ForgeBox module of the week. We mispronounce all our Patreon supporters' names. We talk about CFML jobs. There's just a ton of stuff in it. It's great, and you guys can jump on there, watch live on YouTube every week, Tuesday, 12 Central, except for this week and last week because we're busy, but every other week. But we've also done some extra things from this. So we've taken that content that we produce every week, the CFML News podcast, and again, we have the conference podcast, we've got the Soapbox podcast. We've taken the snippet, so every week we take that little VS Code hint, tip, and trick out, and it's released on YouTube separately. Same with ForgeBox module of the week. But we've also added some more channels. So Audis in the Wild, you can see Luis talking at DevNexus. You can see Brad doing interviews with podcasts from different places. You can see all of our podcasts from all the Audis people on the CF Live podcast, because we obviously podcast on other people's podcasts now too. And then we have online Cold Fusion meetup meetings. We have CF Summit and Developer Week presentations. So you guys can go find them all on our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel has grown a lot this last year. So if you're not a subscriber, please go, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. We really appreciate all of that, and we want to keep growing that community. But wait, there's more. Ooh, so CFML. So CFML rocks. It's a new site, a new initiative. We've got new CFML logos. One of the things that we've struggled in our community is everyone sees the Adobe logo, and those who aren't using Adobe's logo, kind of like, eh. People see Lucy, and they're like, So we decided, you know what, let's just bring it all together. We'll just have a central Autos version of the CFML logo. We're going to try and bring it all together and have a new logo. One of the things we wanted to do for the community, obviously we're trying to keep pushing the community forward, pushing CFML forward, and so this way we decided to create a new logo. We've got a new site on the way. Right now the site will redirect to Audis, but very soon we're going to have a new site. We're going to have a lot of new awesome things in there, new initiatives. We've already talked about TryCF, Cold Fusion. That's going to be a big part of it, so people can try things right on the site. We've got cookbooks, we've got better documentation. We're trying to basically give everybody a chance to get started with CFML. So we have a lot of resources around the web. We're going to give you one place to get started and then try and fill in all those gaps. But the CFML logo, there's a CFML Rocks logo, and we're tying back. Anyone recognize the lightning bolt? We're trying to go back to the old school roots, right? We're trying to go back and bring back some of the good parts of the Cold Fusion stigma, right? Some parts we want to forget, some parts we want to embrace and enjoy. And so part of a sort of celebration for this today, everyone's going to get a brand new shirt who's actually at the conference. Sorry for those watching online. But you guys here at the conference are going to get a brand new CFML shirt so you can rock it like the rest of us and enjoy it. So we're really excited to share that with you guys. We'll be making, obviously, some announcements as we release the site. We want your feedback. We want your support. We want your help. And we want to make the community better. That's what we love to do at Otis, and thank you guys for helping make it possible. So with that, go forth and conquer. Have a great the rest of the conference, and we'll see you guys online. CFML News podcast, 10 o'clock on Tuesday.